Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha.
Are you dry?
Oh, my God. Well, no. There was an inch of water in the dog dishes this morning because it rained all night. And now
your rain gauge, right?
Yes,
the dog dish is your rain gauge.
And I'm looking out the window from the little vanity area in the spare bedroom. Once again, I'm recording in my usual place. For a while, I was somewhere else. But anyway, I'm looking out the window toward the garage, and it is pouring. Literally pouring. The kind of rain we don't usually get. Like huge drops. Not coming down straight either, so we've got some wind. No, it's terrible. I'm beside myself.
Well,
everything's safe here. The last flood, the last projected flooding was not as bad as what they thought it was going to be of the Salinas River. The crest was like a foot lower than what they had originally projected. It still flooded the road, and there were lots of school closures last week, but we stayed open. But I just put my classes online for the week last week. We only meet one day a week, and I just told them we're not going to meet because people can't get here. I'll just put materials online. But
your house is not affected by the flood at all, is it?
No, not at all. It's just my attitude and mood. I'm just being whiny. People have real issues. There are people who have real issues with these storms, and I feel really badly about that. And I've worked really hard to not be whiny about it because other people have real issues. But when I woke up this morning to more rain and projected temperatures under 60 degrees for at least another week, I just okay, I can't. I just can't.
Well, I will say, do you remember, so this is, probably 2008 or something, Seattle, we had a terrible stretch of rain. And in this time of year,
you were going for a record or something.
Well, it rained 39 days. And they're hoping to go, 40. It went so long, finally, people just wanted to get 40 days. But it rained 39 days straight. And I had never considered this on spring break, but I heard all these parents at my son's school were going to Mexico and Hawaii. And I booked a trip to Mexico because I thought I need to get away from the rain.
Oh, that was the first year you guys did that, huh?
The first year, and we just went to one of those all-inclusive resorts, and it was fantastic. But I have lived in the Pacific Northwest my entire life. I'm used to the rain, but even that rain got to me, after a while.
Yeah.
It was kind of debilitating. So
yeah, it's...
Yes, I'm sorry. I understand. I feel your pain. There's, other people have worse things going on, but it is frustrating,
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is dumb too. Is at least I don't have class every day like I used to. Because I don't have clothing for this weather. I mean, that sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, but I don't have clothing for 50-degree weather. Like a whole day of 50-degree weather,
Okay, Kelly, that's ridiculous. You have all those wool sweaters.
I know, but they're not. My wool sweaters are fingering weight. The one sweater I have is the Orca, the Orca's Run sweater. But, it's not like I designed my wardrobe for all the sweaters I knit to go together so I could wear them all at once.
I'm sorry to say this, Kelly, but 50's not that cold.
I mean, it's not that cold. We don't have days in the 50s. I mean, it at least gets up to 63 or something, you know? We've had days, 55 yesterday, 52 the day before. I know. But
I'm supposed to be your friend and I'm supposed to support you, but I didn't.
It's March.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that happens.
Well,
the 50s happen in, December. And then I go on winter break and I get to stay home and stay inside. I don't have to go to work. Oh, well, yeah. The small trials of my life.
Well, since I'm not being a terribly supportive friend to you right now, I will just add to it to let you know. Beautiful sun here in Seattle today.
Yeah, yes. I have to let people know what you did to me yesterday. So yesterday I texted to Marsha complaining about the weather. Or first she texted me a picture of her out on her deck. And so then I texted her a picture complaining about our weather and showing her the forecast for the next 7 days where it doesn't get above 60. And then she texts me back. And what does she say? She said, I lost my shade, so I had to come in.
Yes, I had to go in because I lost my...
It was too hot in the full sun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, we did have beautiful weather. Well, it was sort of the first really nice weather we've had all season. So on Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. But I was, so if this makes you feel better, Kelly, I didn't get to go outside on Saturday and Sunday because I was down in my basement with Kim, which I will talk about this in a little bit, but warping the loom.
Oh, right.
So we did go outside and I went some point and I made tea and we sat outside in the sun to have some tea. But so yesterday was everybody else got to enjoy the weekend. I didn't. So I just took yesterday afternoon to sit on my deck and spin. But anyway, I know what it feels like to just want the weather to get better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like to want the weather to get better. So.
Well, and I'm sorry for all the listeners who have to listen to me moan about the weather. Because wasn't it last summer that I was complaining every day that it was not projected to get to even to 70? I never thought while I was complaining about the weather not getting to 70 that then I would have to experience a winter where it never even got up to 60. You have to be careful what you complain about.
Yes. Yes, be careful. Well, I'm coming down, so maybe I'll bring some of this good weather when I come down at the end of April.
Do. Yeah. I hope you do. I actually hope we have better weather before the end of April, but if not, then please do bring some of that Seattle sunshine down here. Mm-hmm. And not the wet kind of Seattle sunshine.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry, but it will get better, so...
Yeah, and like I said, we have nothing really to complain about except wet, muddy footprints and dreary gray days. Otherwise, everything's safe. Minimal damage to trees during these winter storms this year so far, knock on wood. So that's, I'm lucky from that standpoint.
We should say, we're going to talk a little bit about stitches later on, but a lot of people... California people had difficulty getting to stitches because of the weather. There's so much snow in the mountains. And our friend Janice lives in Truckee, California. And I was on, on Instagram on the Reels, where you just get sucked into Reels. But there was a video of somebody walking into their house in Truckee, California. And it was like a canyon of snow that they had to walk through to get to the front door. I mean, and the snow was above the roof of the house.
Wow.
So, So a lot, we're going to talk about stitches in this episode, but we know a lot of vendors had difficulty, could not make it because of the weather. And a lot of product was delayed. Even the program for the the show was delayed due to snow. The trucks couldn't get over the pass, or they closed the passes. And so anyway, so yes, weather in California is a little crazy right now.
It is. It really is.
Well, so is that all you want to say about the weather? Is that all you want to complain about, Kelly?
Yeah, nobody wants to hear the rest of it.
So should we talk projects?
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm actually knitting on something really fun right now.
Okay.
I have really started on a lot of the stuff that I brought home from Stitches. I've got a sock that I'm knitting, and it's from Pearl 2 Walla Walla, and it's their Pearls Before Wine. Robusta is their sock yarn. Anyway, I had to buy this one for Robert, even though it's not bright colors, and he does like bright colors, because the colorway name was Glamping. And I thought, okay, that's perfect. So because I knew I needed some sock yarn, and so this is one of the skeins that I got for Robert for socks. And it actually, it's kind of, I think it might, I can't figure out exactly why it's called Glamping, because I would think it would be real colorful. But it's, I think maybe it's like Airstream, because it's silver,
it's kind of a gray,
silvery gray. Yeah. A little bit of,
and it has kind of the burgundy in there too, like your burgundy.
Well,
doesn't it?
No, it's more like a brown. There are some sort of browny, taupey speckles, but they don't show up as speckles really in the knitting. They just kind of give everything kind of a sort of a dusty overcast. So it kind of reminds me of an Airstream. So I think that might be what the inspiration is. I'll have to ask them, because I'm kind of curious. It actually, what it really looks like to me is our Barred Rock hen with her black and white speckles. So that's what it's really reminding me of as I knit it. So I'm just making a pair of 2x2 rib socks. You know, the normal Robert socks are 72 stitches, and it's just ribbing. It's going to be ribbing all the way down.
Are you going to put in contrasting heels and toes?
I don't think so. I hadn't really thought about it. I don't really have anything handy that I could use as a contrasting heels or toes. I don't have any black fingering yarn, because I'm not crazy. And the gray that I had some Cascade gray sock yarn that I've had for years, leftovers from a pair of socks, but I finally ended up using that in one of my use up my scraps projects. So that's gone. So I don't know. I had thought about it.
Well, I was thinking you could put in burgundy, or that kind of the red color that you have in the trailer.
Oh, I could, yeah. Maybe I should.
Or
do
the
that.
green, but I think the burgundy would be kind of nice with that gray. I don't know if burgundy's the correct description of that red, but
sort of that, yeah, sort of browny red. Yeah, okay. I'll have to think about that. I'm still on the leg, but I had thought about doing some contrasting heels and toes, because he does like that. So yeah, I'll have to see about getting something or finding something that I can use. Oh, I have some of that. I'm just grabbing it out of my basket right now. I have some of that Rauma, Finalgarn Rauma. It's a little thicker, but I bought it what I bought it for was socks, to make Argyle socks. Maybe I'll do that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having slightly thicker heels and toes.
Right.
I mean,
maybe I'll do
probably
that.
better to have them thicker than thinner.
That's a good idea, Marsha. Okay, I'm going to set that there. It's actually a little more burgundy than the red in the trailer, but still, I think it'll be pretty with them.
Well, according to my brother, when you design, you don't want to be too matchy.
Right.
So you don't want that red to be exactly matching.
Right. Exactly.
It's just a nod to it, Anyway.
So that's what I'm working on right now. And then I have some finished things. I think I mentioned it in a previous episode, but I'll mention it again. I did finish the Coloresque Wrap out of the gradient from Neighborhood Fiber Company, that turquoise gradient. And you saw it. I haven't blocked it yet. And by the time I was finished with it, I have to say, I think because it's long, it's more like it's like a scarf, right? And scarves are just long. And by the time I was finished with it, and I wanted to use all my yarn up, so I really kept going and going and going. And I was just kind of tired of it, and I wasn't even sure I really liked it. And then when I brought it out to show Marsha, she was like, "Oh, this is really pretty." And then I started looking at it again, like, okay, yeah, I do like it.
Yeah.
So I just needed to take a break from looking at it for a while. So I'll get that one. I have a couple of things that I haven't blocked that I should get washed and blocked. So maybe I'll do that one day when the dampness is gone. Or actually, while it's still cold and the heater's on in the house, I could probably get things dry really fast.
Yeah.
So I finished that, and then I worked on during stitches. I cast on right before we left for stitches while Marsha was here, a baby sweater. One of my friends at work, her daughter just had a baby in January, and so I wanted to make a baby sweater for her daughter. So I worked on that all during stitches, and I finished it. I used the in threes pattern, and I modified it a little bit because the in threes pattern has like a garter, like a three ridge garter stripe. It has the collar that's garter, and then two of those 3 ridge stripes kind of as a yoke and sleeves. Going around the yoke and and what becomes the short sleeves of the sweater. And since I didn't have enough, let me back up a little bit. I had this bag of yarn that was supposed to be for making dolls. Knit Picks Comfy Sport, and there was a skin tone color in there for the dolls that is like that sad beige color. We've laughed about sad beige baby clothes. Sad beige children.
Yes.
And my friend is very fashion conscious.
I'm just going to interrupt to say, if people don't know, this is a woman has a Instagram account, and it's called Official Sad Beige, I think. And she does everything she describes photographs of women's clothing or children's clothing from catalogs with and she has an affected accent, so she sounds like Werner Herzog, who is, if anybody knows who he is, they know what he sounds like. Anyway, it's very funny when you don't realize how much beige we have in our lives. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. But.
No, it is pretty funny. And when I just saw these sitting, I was doing dishcloths. Another thing, I finished about half a dozen dishcloths. But while I was doing dishcloths, I ran across this yarn, and it had kind of a dusty pink in there and then this beige color. And I'm like, oh my God, I could make a sad beige baby dress. Because this friend of mine, she's very fashion conscious. And so I imagine her daughter would also be fashion conscious, and that would be, something she would like. And so I got kind of laughing at myself, cracking myself up about making a sad beige baby sweater. But I really didn't have enough yarn in that color, in those 2 colors, to do the whole sweater. So I made those garter ribs or ridges all the way down the sweater, 3 stripes of 3 ridges, and then stockinette, and then stripes of 3 ridges, and used all the colors that were in that little doll making kit. It was a D-stash from the Knocker's Room, so I was using spirit yarn, and it's really nice. That Knit Picks Comfy Sport, that's a really nice yarn, very soft, and so now I've washed it, and everybody, you need to know this. You know how many buttons I have. Most people who have been listening for a while, at least. And if you haven't been listening for a while, let me just tell you that the top of a box that paper reams come in. So I have one of those full of buttons. Plus I have probably 8 jars. I mean, half gallon, 2-quart jars. Probably 8 2-quart jars full of buttons. So I have more buttons than any person would ever use in a lifetime. Probably more buttons than a whole city would use in a lifetime. So I did not need buttons, but the button vendor was at Stitches, and Marsha actually touched buttons.
I was pawing through them. Scraping my hands.
She was trying to find buttons for this sweater for me. And so I ended up buying buttons for this sweater, and then realized when I got them home that I can't put glass buttons on a baby sweater that's supposed to be machine wash and dryable.
Yeah.
I don't think. So I found other buttons in my stash, and I'll use the ones that you found for me on something else, because they are darling. They're just really cute.
Yeah, they really were cute. No, I was very proud of myself. I confronted my horror at old buttons. And
she was up to her elbows in old buttons.
And then you found the buttons and went to pay for them. And I'm like, I got to go get a wet wipe now and wipe off my hands. Awful. Anyway. But I did a pretty good job. I'm proud of myself.
Well, and those buttons are really nice. That button vendor, they're not, the buttons I have are dusty. I mean, just from being at my house, they're dusty. They were at the weaving class, Cartnell's weaving program for I don't know how long. I never saw them when I was weaving there. I never saw all these buttons. It wasn't until I started, was helping to clear out the area, because we were going to use it for a different. And they made it into a studio for some other art classes when they discontinued the weaving classes. Anyway, it wasn't until then that I even saw them, and so they're a little bit gross, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say this vendor, the buttons are clean, but still, it's just like we don't need to go into my mental health issues at this point.
Well, everyone has the things that kind of gross them out a little bit. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have a finished project, and on not just to like grab something, make a hat, a real finished project of this sweater. So that was kind of exciting to get that finished, and I'm going to give it. I think I should be seeing her. Tomorrow night we're having a little faculty party at the house, so I think she'll be there, and I'll be able to give her her
nice.
grandbaby's baby sweater. And I have to go in my text messages from way back in January and remember what her granddaughter's name is. Or maybe I'll just ask one of my other friends who remembers things like that better than I do. So anyway, those are my projects. Let me see if I got everything. Oh, one thing that I haven't talked about, Marsha was putting warp on a loom this weekend, and so was I. I was inside for those couple of days. We actually had some a little bit of sunshine over the weekend, and I did get outside and pull some weeds. But while I was inside, I managed to put a warp on the loom. So one other thing that I bought at Stitches was 2 cones of yarn, cotton, 8-2 cotton, from Meridian Specialty Yarns. And I have a lot of spirit weaving yarn that I don't know, doesn't have a label on it. But I do have some that I bought from Sally Fox, that Fox Fiber, that's 10-2 cotton. And I was kind of surprised because the 8-2 cotton is not that much different. I don't think if they didn't have labels on them, I would look at them and say they're the same weight of yarn. But anyway, I bought 2 cones of 8-2 cotton. One is a really pretty royal blue, and the other one is an actual true gray, not the purpley gray that I had for those last batch of towels. And so I'm putting that on the loom for crackle towels in the crackle pattern weave structure.
Okay.
And
you sent me a picture, Kelly, of the pattern.
The threading.
Beautiful.
Oh,
well,
the finished.
The finished picture, not your project, but the finished picture of the project that you're going to be making, and really, really pretty and interesting.
Yeah, they're very interesting. A little. We were talking on the weave along thread. Crackle is a little messy looking, and the woman who called it crackle because it's a Swedish structure. Said she called it crackle because it reminded her of the like cracked glaze. You know, that crazing that happens in a ceramic glazing. And so you know how that's kind of curvy, and you do get sort of that curvy nature in these towels. So that might be what I am seeing as kind of messy looking in them. But I'm excited about this batch of towels because I really like the blue and gray together, and I redesigned a little bit the project because one of the things I've noticed about dish towels is they always have like an edging, you know, like the edge is a different color, or they have a stripe. Like I'll often put a thin stripe on the edge, and then when the way I fold my towels to put them on the right, I never see that part. It's like, okay, I need to think about this. The interest needs to be closer into the middle. So I extended the edge, you know, the edging stripe. I extended it so it's almost like a third. So the outer thirds are gray, and the inner, a little bit more than a third, is the blue. And if I've done it properly, it will line up with kind of an angular design in one of the one of the designs of the towels. It has like the patterning kind of comes to a corner at that point. So we'll see if I have read my draft properly and put the color change in the place that I thought I was putting the color change. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting. But I got that almost all, I got it all wound, and now I'm in the process of threading the heddles. So it'll be a while, but I was glad to have another project on the loom. And by the way, the winter weave along, I did put up an FO thread this morning. I realized there was never a finished object thread. And when that's over, we'll be drawing from both the finished object thread and the chat thread. That's what we usually do. And so, sorry for those of you who finished something way back in October and now need to go back and do the work of posting it. You don't have to, but if you want to be in both, if you want to be in both drawings, go ahead and enter in the finished object thread that I just put up as well.
Okay.
So that's it for me, Marsha. How about you?
Okay. Well, let me start here. Okay, so the Noromania blanket for my brother.
That is beautiful, by the way. She had it at Stitches.
Oh, thank you.
Gorgeous.
I think it's beautiful, and I'm really enjoying this because the Noro Kureyon has such long color changes that it, one color change goes. This is the whole design behind this blanket is, the color change. I mean the color will go all the way across the blanket and then changes. And sometimes you get halfway across, but you get these really interesting just colored ridges. It's very nice. But Kelly, I originally bought, I think, 18 skeins, and then I bought more. I ended up with 20. I have 24 skeins. And I don't know when I last measured it. It's probably now 24 inches, but when I had at the 20-inch mark, I had used 10 balls.
Oh.
And it's a little over 5 feet wide. Mm-hmm. So it means it has to be, I want it to be at least 5 to 6 feet long, right? So I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn.
Right.
So the shop where I bought the bulk of it, people who are in Seattle, it's Acorn Street Yarns. They're having a 10% off sale this week. So I think I'm going to go down there and buy 6 balls, maybe. So I'll have an even 30 and just see. I don't know. Because I'm going through it pretty quickly because it's on size 9 needles, but it's, of course, garter stitch, and that uses up a lot more yarn, right? So I would say probably now I've knit 24 inches, and I plan to bring it with me to the Knockers retreat. And
you might need it.
Well, I'm going to definitely need more yarn, I think, because if I sit and knit on this for 4 days, sit and knit on it at your house and then sit and knit on it at Knockers, I'm going to definitely need more yarn before I go. So I'm going to go this week.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
This is Wednesday. I've got 3 days to go.
Well, let's hope it's so hot that you have to pile it on another chair while you knit on it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, and so then the other thing I'm working on is just before, actually I cast on the plane to California, a pair of socks, and I'm using the Anzula Dreamy in a blue for the body of the sock. Is that what you call it, the body of the sock? Because it's not on your body, it's on your foot. And then, and Squishy is a coral color. I'm using that for the cuff, the heel, and I'm going to use it for the toe. So I finished the first sock. I finished the heel and the gusset, and I'm now just doing the foot. So I'm working on that periodically when I mostly I've just been working on the blanket. And then I started another spinning project. And when we were at Stitches, I remember I said I wasn't buying anything. The only thing I was allowed to buy was fiber and stitch markers. And I was about 50% good, 50% bad. So I never bought stitch markers, but I did buy fiber. And I bought, from Greenwood Fiber Works, I bought 2 4-ounce braids of a superfine merino in the colorway Paper Roses. And then I bought another 2 4-ounce braids of the same colorway, but with an 80% Polworth and a 20% silk. And then, you know me, that was only 16 ounces.
Yeah.
You know how I am.
Not enough.
Yes. It's never enough. So when we went to another booth called Seattle Sky Dye Works, and I bought her Laurelhurst roving, and that's 75% merino, 15% silk, and 10% yak. And the colorway is rhododendron, and I bought 2 4-ounce braids. So what is that, 24 ounces I have? And I just say the rhododendron colorway, I was listening to the 2 Knit Lit chicks, and Tracy bought yarn at Seattle Sky Dye Works, and it's the same colorway, rhododendron. So
it's really pretty.
Anyway, but since very pretty, I had kind of a pink thing going on at this at the show, and I'd say that the rhododendron is pink. It's a very soft pink, and then the Paper Roses has pink, and I don't have it here in front of me, but it's like it has a green in there too, like a soft, really soft sage green kind of.
Yeah.
Or sort of like, yeah. Anyway, I think it's, so I started spinning the merino. No, I'm sorry, I take it back. I started spinning the Polworth and silk.
Nice.
Is what I've been, so I think I'm going to just do a 3-ply, 3 different color,
one
fibers.
of each of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, but I'm spinning it on, Kelly. I'm spinning it on on the Dreaming Robots electric spinning wheel, the e-spinner. And I just have to weigh in about your comment.
Yes. If you listen to the last episode, I gave Marsha a really hard time.
Yes. Deserved. Because I think what I said is I think the words that came out of my mouth were, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would just buy the electric spinning wheel and not a wood wheel. I want to take all that back. That's not exactly what I meant to say. I love my wood spinning wheel. I'm so glad I have it. I would never get rid of it. I love it. But I do think if you have if money is an issue, the electric spinning wheel it's under $300. I think it's somewhere, I can't remember the exact price. It's between $250 and $300. And like the bobbins, I think you get 3 bobbins, I think, for $20, around that price, So, I mean, 3 come with it, and then you can buy extra. So it's a pretty affordable entry, where a wood spinning wheel is $1,000 if you buy a new one. Or,
yeah,
I mean, can you buy a wood spinning wheel, a new one, for $250? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Even like the Ashford.
Yeah, so I think that if funds are limited, it's fairly affordable compared to a wood wheel, and then also it's so compact. So if you don't have a lot of space, like Kim and I were talking that she has a very small house, she doesn't have really space to store a big spinning wheel, and so I think, if I had to do it over again, and I was like, if I had gotten in, like, when you first got into spinning, I could not have afforded a spinning wheel at $1,000. So this is a nice entry, I think, and it's just nice because it is portable and it's compact, so you can store it. But I want to go on the record as I would never get rid of it. I do not regret buying a little Herbie.
Well, I'm looking on the Woolery's website right now just because I was curious, and they have the small Ashford Kiwi portable, mostly portable wheel, kind of like the little Herbie is portable, and one is $550 unfinished, and finished is $700, and then like an Ashford traditional is almost $700. Unfinished. So yeah, and it's to get a brand new spinning wheel is quite an investment.
Yeah, and here I'm just looking up on the website, the wheel that I bought, the larger one, the 6.0, is $289, which is not inexpensive, but it's less expensive than that. The Nano, the little tiny one, is $125. So, reasonably priced. And let me see, a set of 3 bobbins is $19. So it's pretty affordable. Anyway, to defend myself.
Marsha's defending herself against my my tirade at the end of.
Yes. So anyway, but the reason I started spinning on the e-spinner is that I will not get this done before I go to California. And so my plan is I'm going to bring the e-spinner with me. And I'm going to make you spin on it.
Okay. I'll do it. I would like to try it. I am interested to try it. I think, all of the things that people say are so wonderful about the electric spinners. A lot of those things, and some of the newer wheels too have these features, where you don't have to move the hook, you don't have to move the yarn.
Oh, this one you have to move the hook.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
it's not automatic.
All these things that people talk about that holds 8 ounces on the bobbins, all of those things. It's like, okay, none of those things really appeal to me. The transportability really is a benefit for sure.
Well, and you said when I came down for the trailer rally, putting 2 little Herbies, even in a pickup truck, was challenging.
Yeah, I mean, because the weather was such that, it's not like they can sit out. Other times, in places when we camp, a lot of times I'll just leave my spinning wheel out in the camps, next to the trailer in the campsite overnight. But the weather wasn't such that we wanted to do that there. And so, they had to be stored in the truck. And because there's no room to store them in the, in the trailer, inside the trailer, 2 spinning wheels, you were using the front of the trailer for, for your bedroom. Mm-hmm. So there really wasn't any room. So yeah, it will definitely be good to have that for portability. I can see see the advantage of that for sure.
Yeah. So,
but I had to laugh because it just kind of cracked me up. I entertain myself all the time, laughing at things. And while I was listening and editing the episode, I was like cracking myself up, planning what I was going to say at the end.
and I have no ability to respond.
That's right. Exactly. That's why it was funny. Like the old days when we used to record separately, and I could always pop in at the end, and Marsha couldn't because I was the one doing the editing. No funny.
Well, and I do. I like treadling. I find it very meditative. I don't mind changing bobbins. I don't mind, like suddenly, I mean, and I don't know if all wood wheels are like this, but my little Herbie's this way. You're spinning along, everything's great, and then all of a sudden something starts like clacking or rubbing, and then you have to stop and adjust everything and oil it, and it's not bad. It's just part of the process. Yeah. It's but it is interesting. This is I mean, I think anything that you can do for hours on end in bed, with the dog on your lap and a whiskey in your hand and Netflix on the computer, is probably not good. So, anyway. Okay. But moving on from that. I was also wanted to let you know too, I kind of laughed when you were talking about, using black yarn for heels and toes. I'm considering a pattern I may bring it with me. But I bought a number of years ago when Kim and I went down to Tacoma, and it's now called, I believe it's red. I never remember if it's red alder or red cedar.
Red alder.
Okay. I know it's a tree. I never remember if it's red. Yeah, red alder. It used to be what was it called? It doesn't matter what it used to be called. But anyway, red alder. And Brooklyn Tweed gave us a discount on yarn. And so I bought a sweater quantity of Loft, which is fingering weight. And I was planning on making the Woodford, I believe.
Oh, uh-huh.
That I was thinking about making, but I don't really like the line across there's an interesting line that goes across the sort of the waist kind of the sweater, horizontal, and it kind of accentuates. I don't find it very flattering. I think I tried it on at the show. They had a sample. I tried it on. It was very comfortable, and that's why I bought the yarn to make the pattern. But now, having seen it on several people, I don't really like that line. So I'm looking for a different project. And so I found a very similar sweater called A Little Love by Ankestrick. But I was laughing because my yarn is black.
Oh, no.
And I can't say it's actually called, I believe it's called charcoal.
Yeah.
So it's not really black. It's like a very, very, very dark gray, and it has little flecks of white in it. But I'm swatching, and I'm kind of wondering if the pattern will be visible in such a dark color, because the pattern shows it in kind of a light gray, and the pattern is
sort of eyelets.
It's interesting too. The pattern just has you do a gauge swatch in stockinette, even though the sweater's not in stockinette, which surprised me. But I did a swatch. And I'm just continuing on and doing the pattern. And I've only done 2 repeats of the pattern. So then I'll do a few more, and then I'll wash it and just see if I like the the look to go to all that work putting
Yeah.
in that patterning and then not have it.
There's a navy
not be able to
blue
see.
one on. I'm looking on the pattern page right now. There's a navy blue one, and that one, it does look like you can see that textured pattern.
Let's see.
It's down near the bottom, or closer to the bottom.
There's 652 projects.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the
here's
pictures
one
right on the pattern page.
Here's one like an aubergine, like a deep purple.
So there's one, it's Monicana's Little Love is one of the pictures on the pattern page. And you can see, there's a nice picture there that you can see it. And then there's another one that is a little further away, and it's a little lighter blue, but it looks visible too. There's quite a few navy, dark colored sweaters on the pattern page. I'm sure there's projects you can look at too, but a swatch is always the best.
Yeah. Here's one that's like a really dark, I don't know what color this is, if it's brown or it's quite a dark color.
Yeah, so
I don't know. So I have
it
to
might
think.
be good.
I have to think about it.
It might work out fine. Well, the yarn is such that the yarn is going to somewhat obscure the texture just because it has a little bit of halo to it.
Yes,
It's
I know.
that woolen yarn, but I think it'll be really pretty. I mean, I think, okay, you won't see exact total stitch definition the way you would with something really tight and smooth, like a wool miza or something that's really tightly spun and worsted, worsted style spun, but I think you'll still. I think it'll. I think that style of yarn will be really nice with that texture.
Yeah, so I'm just looking because how you can see under projects. Under yarn, and so 4 people have used Brooklyn Tweed Loft.
Oh yeah.
3 of them are very light. One of them is it's like a blue, not a navy blue, but kind of a brighter blue.
Yeah.
And you can see the pattern. So
Yeah.
I don't know. All I can do is just do a swatch and just see.
Finish your swatch and then I think you'll probably like it. It's a cute pattern.
Yeah. If not, I'll find something else. I'm sure there'll be something that I can find. So anyway, and then the other thing I just wanted to mention is the loom. So this past weekend, we borrowed a warping board from a friend of hers, and she started warping 2 weeks ago, I think. She can only come on a Saturday or Sunday. She can't come after work because she's too exhausted. So she came last weekend and warped half of the yarn that she needs, and then came this weekend. She was here both Saturday and Sunday, finished warping, and then we finished wrapping. What do you call that? Is that warping? When you're just putting it around the warping board?
Winding the warp, yeah.
Winding the warp. And then when you put the warp on the loom, I've seen it 2 things, warping the loom, and I've heard dressing the loom, which is more correct. Either one.
I think they're both correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we started so she spent Saturday, finished the wrapping the warp, and then Sunday we started warping the loom, and we got it on. We don't have it through the heddles or the reed yet, but we got it wrapped onto the back beam, and then we had to stop because it was now like 5:00.
Yeah.
And I said, you can't start putting it through the heddles at that point. We're too exhausted. So, but anyway, she's using a kit that she purchased at Jane Stafford, and it's going to make 4 towels. And I think it's good for us to start with this because it's just plain weave. But there's already some techniques that, like I didn't understand the tie up, and as you showed me is, so I believe with plain weave, aren't you doing like harness 1 and 2, and then harness 3 and 4?
1 and 3 and 2 and 4. So every other thread is up and every other thread is down.
Right. And so I didn't understand how to read the tie up, and we had a conversation about it, and you actually will change the tie-up of the harnesses to the pedal so that you'll step down on the outside left pedal, and I believe, Kelly, that's going to raise like 1 and 3. And then the outside right will raise 1 and 2 at the same time. So you don't have to.
1 and 3 on one foot and 2 and 4 on the other foot.
Thank you. I'm not saying that right at all. Yes,
and it
you're
doesn't matter
correctly.
which. It doesn't really matter which foot is which.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's but we had a few little problems. Like I was in charge of cranking it onto the back beam and that roller, and you know how you put paper in there, and she had bought a brand new tube of like butcher paper, or that brown paper, wrapping paper, whatever it is. And I thought, well, if you get it in there straight, it'll just wind on straight because it's coming off of it. No, it does not. So lesson learned about that. Lesson learned too about just simple little things. When you take the warp off the warping board, and you know how you do like a chain to keep it organized, you have to chain from the end opposite the cross. Yes. Because otherwise, do you know what I'm saying? I can't explain. So otherwise, you're having to unchain it. You're unchaining it from the wrong end.
Yeah. It won't unchain smoothly.
Lesson learned. So we actually... And then I think Kim had twisted it too. Like she alternated hands or something when she was doing the chain. So we could not unchain it from either end. Oh. I said, we just need to, I don't know what she did. So I said, we just need to take them apart and do it the right way, or we're going to have a big problem. So, so just things that it took us it's going to take us a while because we did at the class, which is now 6 weeks ago, we did a practice warp, and then our actual warp. And so it's going to take us a while. But super fun. I'm getting a lot of the equipment, little things. Like I realize now things that I need. So anyway, that's been really fun. And then the last thing I'm just going to throw out here, I don't even have it in the show notes, but in case people don't know, I did not know this, so I'm going to pass this out as a tip. I have a friend who had bought a Harris tweed blanket at a thrift store and had a really strong odor. Like maybe they had sprayed Febreze on it or something that in this very perfumey smell, and it wouldn't go away. So I washed it for him, and I washed it in Dawn, and I washed in the I never can pronounce the name of it. Eucalyptus. Eucalyptus. God, why I cannot remember that. And it still had that odor was so strong. So I called you, and you said you just put it in a vinegar bath. So I put like a cup and a half of vinegar in the sink full of water and let it soak for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something. Beautiful. The odor's completely gone. So I had never heard of that before. So in case I may not be the only one, so that's a tip I'm just going to pass out. It was brilliant.
Well, so and it smells like vinegar at first, and you think, oh, I just replaced the smell of the one thing with the smell of vinegar, but the smell of vinegar does dissipate.
Yeah, there's no odor to it now at all.
Good.
Works great. So, and I don't think that blanket had ever been washed because there was quite a bit of dye came off of it. Oh, and just a lot of dirt too. Now, actually, that's not really true. It had to have been washed at some point because it's actually fulled, right?
Yeah, but by the person who owned it, no.
Yeah.
It's very likely. I mean, it's likely that didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for me for projects.
All right. Well, it sounds like both of us have quite a bit going on now after, at least for me, a long time of having really nothing going on except the odd charity hat. So, we should talk about Stitches West. Yeah.
Let's give everybody an update on what we did.
All right. Well, we won't go into a lot of detail since this is getting long, but we did arrive on Thursday, and after we got our room, we immediately grabbed a spot in the lobby of the hotel, of the Sheraton. and got our knitting out and promptly met Linda and Janet, who are from Hollister, and we got talking to them, and turns out that they were interested in we were mentioning about the Knockers retreat, and they were interested in the retreat, and so they were going to see if they could get on the waiting list, and since they're so close, their chance of being able to, if they get on the waiting list at the last minute, being able to actually make it there is pretty good. So just a shout out to Linda and Janet if you're listening. Hope to see you at Knockers.
Yeah, be fun.
And then we went to the marketplace Thursday night, and I have to say it was small, and Marsha mentioned that a lot of people weren't able to make it because of the weather, both from close and from far away. But Pat had mentioned, one of our friends, Pat, had mentioned that she actually counted the vendors from last year and the vendors from this year, and it was about a 10% increase. But then that wasn't actually realized because of the people who weren't able to, who weren't able to make it. So it was about the same size. The vendor market was about the same size as last year. But we stopped at the vendor market. We stopped at the Pearl 2 Walla Walla and talked to Sarah and Leah, and got some. That's where I got some yarn, the glamping colorway that I'm knitting on right now. I think I got another one from them too, but I don't see it right offhand. Maybe that was the only one. Oh no, I did. I got another one. This is the next pair of socks that Robert wants. It's called Epicurean Kitchen, and it's kind of like, this one has kind of like a pinkish burgundy and a gray and a gold. It's pretty. A little bit of purple where the pink meets the gray. So, yeah, that's the one he picked out for his second pair of socks. So that was Thursday. Did you buy anything on Thursday? Did you buy your first roving on Thursday, right?
I bought the first roving on Thursday, yeah. From the Greenwood. I bought the 4 braids there. Yeah. I have to say I was very good. I said I was not going to buy.
Yeah. No, you were very good.
Really. And I did buy. So some of the booths we visited, we also went to Weird Sisters Wool Emporium. They're the dyers from Aberdeen, Washington, and I happened to be wearing a T-shirt that I had made out of their sock yarn when we went to the booth, and I did buy a skein there of it's fingering weight. And it's interesting because it's merino and then 85% merino and 15% Donegal nep. So it has these little black, gray, white flecks in it. And I kind of was on a pink theme, I guess, because it's kind of like a rose and aqua and a little bit of gold yellow in it. It's kind of an interesting yarn, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I bought that, and I bought it because I like the name. I'm now going to swear when I read the name. I apologize, but this is what it's called. Holy shit balls. So anyway, that's what my apologies. They're very nice. There was their first time at Stitches, so they were very excited there, and they have a really fun booth too. So
yeah, they had a lot of yarn was their colorways were, well, their yarn was all organized by fandom, you said. A lot of their colorways are different, Harry Potter, Disney, different things. And actually, while we're talking about them, I have 2 prizes, prizes that we're going to give away in the Ravelry group and on Patreon next episode. And one of them is Mrs. Weasley's Knitting, and it's a mini skein collection of their yarn. And then the other one from them, prize that we have from them, that they donated these prizes for you all, is called Dreadful Hocus Pocus. And it's a mini skein set as well. So they gave us 2 mini skein sets to give away to our listeners.
Yeah.
and we'll do that next episode, and we'll give you a little more information about how you can join in that. I forgot about something that I got at Stitches, and I'll mention this on Friday when we went back into the marketplace. Marsha told me I could not make another one of those punch, hook punch mug rugs because I've now, I've made 2 or 3 of them, and I've bought supplies every year. To my credit, I did make a little square punch needle rug. That would have been the summer of my broken foot, I think, 2019 is when I did that. And I still have a lot of fabric, and I have different sizes of punch needles, and I have all that rug yarn. Anyway, I decided while I was talking to Una that I was actually going to buy the stretcher. It's a square, 18 by 18 square that you stretch your fabric over so that then you can do your punch needling. Because I did my other one with a embroidery hoop, which was fine when I was first starting, but as I got more and more of the rug made, it became more and more difficult to get that fabric, that rug fabric, into the embroidery hoop. And so she had the stretchers at her booth, and so I decided, this is a piece of equipment that I need so that I can continue my journey in punch needle. So this is one of my future projects coming up pretty quickly is going to be that punch needle. And then that same day, Friday, do you remember, Marsha? We ran across a listener. She came up to talk to us and introduce herself. Shannon from Castor Valley was on the market floor, and we got a chance to talk with her for a little bit and say hi, and that was really fun. It's always fun to meet meet listeners that we haven't met in person yet. We did see a lot of people at Stitches that we already know in person, of course. Yeah. But it's always fun to meet new people. So shout out to Shannon. I know you're a listener, so you'll hear this. Thanks for stopping and saying hello.
Yeah, it was nice. So what else? What else did you?
Well, I have another prize. We stopped at the Royal Bee, and they gave us a prize, a worsted weight skein of a color called Kestrel Gardens Teal. And she was saying that these colors were all named after places that they had lived in the UK. So I don't know where Kestrel Gardens is, but Kestrel Gardens Teal is the name of this color. And this is their yarn. It's a 215 yards, and it's the domestic Rambouillet that's milled in the U.S. So I know we've given away their yarn before, and that's really pretty. So we'll have that as a prize. And at the same time, I bought 3 skeins of DK Superfine Superwash Merino. And one is in a really pretty red called Coffee Berries, which probably refers to actual coffee, but there's a native plant called the coffee berry that I really like. I got 2 skeins of that, and I got 1 skein of the same yarn in a gray color that they call charcoal latte. It's a lighter gray. It's not really charcoal. It's like charcoal with latte foam in it. It's a lighter color gray, and they're just beautiful. So kind of silvery gray, and they're just beautiful together. These 3 skeins. I don't know what I'll make with them. I think a shawl. It's 240 yards in each skein. So not really. Maybe a vest. Not really enough to. It's not enough. I did not buy a sweater quantity. That's not my typical MO. That's Marsha. But I do have enough to do something fun with, and I just really thought the colors looked nice together. And so when we stopped at the Royal Bee, that's what I did. So that was Friday. And then I think on Saturday was when we stopped at Nano Stitch. Is that right?
Yes, because we were buying prizes, and On Saturday, yeah. So we stopped at Nano Stitch and got a skein of yarn there that we bought for a price. So, and do you remember, it's, let me guess, Kelly, I can't remember, we looked at so many. Is that the one with the frog one?
Yes,
The
frog dissection is
okay.
the colorway. It's really
Yeah.
pretty. It's green with some speckles. So that's a really pretty skein. And then
all their colorways are sort of somehow relate to science.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one was like atmospheric or something, and I may have that wrong, but they're all science related, hence their name, Nano Stitch Lab.
Yeah, that was a fun booth. They had a lot of interesting skeins. And then we also we bought some prizes at Oink Pigments, which I had never bought their yarn before, but we've got a couple of skeins of that, a couple of worsted weight skeins that actually go together quite well, but we're going to give them away separately. Oink Pigments is their Dapper base, and they have some interesting colors too. You know, these are really nice. And the worsted weight is really squishy. It's a superwash merino. I don't think I bought anything. Oh, I know. Yes, I did. On Saturday was when I went to, I decided I needed the rest of my sock yarn. So I did a good bit of addition to my stash. I bought 2 solid color skeins of Invictus Yarns Master of My Feet. One is purple and it's a purple, and the other one is a denim blue. So these are going to be for socks that have some kind of lace or cables or something fun in the stitch pattern. And then the other place we stopped, they had some skeins in a Oops bin. Comfort and Joy Yarn Company. They're called Oopsies, and I got 3 of them. And one's kind of a tonal ambery gold color. The other one is a variegated burgundy and that ambery gold color. And then the third one is kind of a gray and green and purple and pink. So the 2 go together. And then this third one is a little different. But these are pretty significant put-ups, 463 yards of sock weight. So, so yeah, this actually would make a good, these would be good ones for Robert to have for his socks, but he didn't select them. I might have to revise his selection.
Or he's just going to get a lot of new socks.
He won't know. He won't remember.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I have besides the skeins that 6 skeins plus the skein of sock yarn that I'm working on now. So I bought 7 skeins of sock yarn, and then the 3 skeins of whatever that's going to be from Royal Bee. So yeah, I had a good time finding additions to my sock yarn stash. And then on Sunday, we didn't really shop the marketplace at all, but we did go back because we did something really fun that Marsha set up for us.
Yes, it was fun.
So tell people what it was.
I say, who wants to say? No, we had an interview with Laura Bellows from Jewel Designs, and it was a fantastic interview. It was really fun. So we'll put that out in another episode because this episode is getting long, and I think that it's worth a separate episode to feature that interview. So very, very interesting woman, interesting background, really interesting what she's doing. Learned a lot about how the pieces are designed and really, really interesting. So that's just a little teaser about what's going to come in another episode. So that was fun.
Yeah. No, that was really fun. I have to admit that I was nervous about doing the interview. It's not something. I mean, we did an interview with Stephanie Wilkes a number of years ago when her book came out, Raw Materials. And I was nervous before that too, okay, you have good questions to ask and all of that. And so I was a little nervous, I have to admit, but it went really well, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I have one more shout out, a couple of people that we met. I don't know if they're listeners or not, but we met Ruth and Deb. Ruth's from Boston, and Deb is from Sammamish. And they are in the Zoom group that the two Knitlet chicks do, and decided to come to Stitches West. And so we were able to meet them too. So we met a few new people this year. That was fun.
Yes, and I should also say too, since we've been talking about the two Knitlet chicks, am I saying that right? Barb and Tracy, we have to thank them too, because every time we go to Stitches, they invite us. They have a friend, Eileen, who's our friend now too, who sets up a dinner, and she was trying to set it up, but there was a lot of logistical issues. So Tracy's husband offered the conference room of his law firm, which it ended up being really fun. So it was a 7 to 8 block walk, so not far really. That sounds further than it really was, from the convention center where the show was to his law firm. And then Tracy had arranged, she had like a taco bar set up and dessert, and so it was really fun. In fact, I think in some ways it was more fun than the restaurant, in the sense that you could move around and talk to people, where in the restaurant, you're sometimes we've had like a private dining room and it's small and you're sort of in your chair and that's where you are for the evening. So this is kind of nice because people could get up and move around and talk, and we did that. So that was really fun, and I wanted just to thank them for doing that. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thank Tracy's husband too.
Right.
to allow us into his law firm like that. So anyway, I said best experience I've ever had in the law firm. Not a lot of good things happen in law firms. So anyway, so what else do we need to say about Stitches?
I think just that we will have a prize drawing next time. Yeah, we will have a prize drawing next time, and we'll draw and give award prizes to our patrons. If you want to become a patron, patreon.com/2Us is our Patreon page, and it's also linked at the top of our show notes. And then also, if you would like to win through the Ravelry group, I'll be putting up a thread with a prompt. And if you just go to the Ravelry thread that I'm going to put up and answer the prompt, you'll be entered to win one of these skeins of yarn that we talked about, or these mini skein sets that we talked about. So we've got prizes for each group.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it's too bad it was not larger, but I have to say it was kind of easier. The first year I went, it was almost overwhelming. It was so massive. So while I have mixed feelings about it being smaller,
it was easier for you to stay with your goal.
Well, it was easier for me to stay for my goal, but it was also easier to see the booths and talk to the vendors. I feel bad for many of the vendors. I apologize to all the vendors that I didn't buy anything from. The fact that I'm didn't buy anything. I'm on this just trying to knit from my stash, which I'm going to cross my fingers about that. But I liked it being a little. I didn't hate it being smaller, just because you could have more personal contact with the vendors. They weren't, so I think for vendors they would like it to be bigger. But what I cross my fingers about not buying things. I was going to make a comment too. The people that we talked to, our friends, so many of them were there for the social, to see their friends, and were not buying. And it was not just me. Many people were not buying anything. And so I'm wondering how, I don't know if that's went across the board. All people were sort of limiting what they were buying, or just there for the social aspect. But I thought that was an interesting to note. I've never heard that before. And then the other thing I was just going to take note about, sort of trends. 3 patterns that were everywhere at the show. Mm-hmm. Pressed flowers. That is I should have looked to see
mosaic knitting. I think is.
Yes. And there's a sweater, a shawl, and a hat. And it's really, really cute. Everywhere. Everybody had made it, bought yarn to make it. It was on display in booths, and a really, really cute sweater. I think we did have some discussions when we went and looked at it, the different projects. It's one of those sweaters I think you have to be, or not one of those patterns, you have to be a little careful about the color choice, the selection. It seems like having something that's extremely high contrast. And I don't know how the sweater is knit, but it's stranded knitting, so 2 colors, but you can kind of see the way it's knit. You can see the patterning color,
because it's slip stitches, and so stitches in between.
So that was really interesting to see what worked and really what didn't work very well. The other pattern everybody either was wearing, making, or buying yarn to make was Love Note.
Mm-hmm. And that's not a brand new pattern. The pressed flowers is a relatively new pattern. It's Amy Christopher's. Well, no, it's not new. It's August 2020. So there must have been some kind of campaign for it, because a lot of the vendors had samples and kits. Yeah. And then the Love Note's been around for a while too. Mm-hmm. I think 2017 is what someone said. But very popular.
Like every year when we go, there is like a sweater, shawl or hat or something, but mostly sweaters, I'm thinking, that everybody's making. Yeah. One year it was the Zweig. One year it was Hito Fude. Right. One year it was, I cannot remember the name of it, but it's the one by Hohi Locatelli, where it has like these lace that goes like from over the top of the shoulder down the sleeve. Oh, mm-hmm. And then the body's worked in stockinette. I don't remember the name of that pattern, but everybody was making that one. So it's interesting. And then the other thing, everybody's making I think it's the Sophia shawl or scarf. It's a narrow scarf. It's maybe 5 inches wide and then quite long. Yeah. Everybody's making that.
Yeah, there were lots of people knitting on that. The Love Note is Tin Can Knits. Is it Sophie's scarf? I think it is.
I can't remember, but anyway, everybody was making that. Mm-hmm. Surprising.
Well, and that's a good one for knitting. For social knitting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I do think that's interesting, because none of those patterns are totally new. Tin Can Knits, the Love Note, I went and looked, it was in May of 2019. So, but you know what? When patterns come out and people think they're going to make it, and then they buy their yarn, and then it sits in their stash a while, I mean, maybe that's what it takes. Maybe there's a couple of years marination period before all the projects that were planned for a particular
Or maybe there have to be those first brave souls who make it, and then people start seeing what it looks like, and then they, so anyway. Okay, Kelly. Yes. This is going to be a very long episode. Anything else we need to say?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything that we needed to say, and if we forgot something, well, we'll just have to put it in the next episode.
Yeah, really. Okay, well, I will be seeing, I don't know, I think we'll probably be recording again before I head to California.
Yeah, we have a beginning of April, and that's when we will do, for the Winter Weave Along, it ends at the end of March. I did say I put in a finished objects thread there, and you can submit in the finished objects thread up until about April 4th or 5th, and that's when Marsha and I will probably be recording our first April episode, so... So yeah, if you're going to post in the FO thread for the Winter Weave Along, you have a little bit longer than the March 31st deadline, but don't wait too long, because we're going to be recording April. I think April 5th is probably right around the day we're going to be recording that episode.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
All right. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
Doing our part for World Fleece.